Hello everyone. So today in this video, I'm going to tell you how to create an EKS cluster within AWS. Basically, there are many ways we can create EKS cluster for our AWS region. For example, we can use Terraform, we can use Ansible, there is something called CDK, we can use CloudFormation, we can also use AWS SDK like Python Boto3. We can also use AWS CLI to create EKS cluster for any of our AWS region. But in this video, I'm going to tell you how to create an EKS cluster with the help of a specific CLI called EKS CTL. So before you try to create the cluster, make sure you have that program installed in your local machine. So without further ado, let's start. What I'm going to do now, I will type EKS CTL, then I will specify create cluster. So this is the main command which will create the cluster for a specific AWS region. Then I need to specify a bunch of details for our cluster. For example, what would be the name of the cluster? Let's say it's my cluster. And then I need to specify a name to our node group, which will be, let's say, my node group. All right, so what is node group? Basically, node group contains a bunch of worker machine that will be part of our EKS cluster. And the reason we need node group, because with the help of node group, we can collectively control the worker nodes that should belong to our cluster. So node group is very, very handy, I would say. And then I can specify how many nodes we want for this node group. Let's say I just want 3 nodes initially for this node group. And I can also specify the instance type within this node group. Let's say I want each nodes or worker nodes within this node group to be T3 medium. All right. And then I will specify maximum and minimum number of nodes that I want for this node group. For example, I'm saying maximum number of nodes I want for this node group is 5. And minimum number of nodes for this node group would be 3, let's say. So what I mean by that, if loads within this cluster goes up or down, the number of nodes within this node group will be in between 3 and 5. All right. And then I can also specify whether I want these nodes within this node group to be managed or not. To make our life easier, let's say I want managed nodes for this node group. That's all. I can specify more detail if we want. For example, I can also specify which region I want this cluster to be deployed. Let's say I want this cluster to be deployed into US West 2, which is Oregon region, I believe. If we don't specify the region, it will take the default one. So that's all I want for now, and I will just press enter. And you can see a bunch of outputs that might indicate the cluster is being creating. So let's wait for a few minutes. It might take around 10 to 15 minutes. So let's wait for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll come back here again. So finally, we have created the cluster. As we see, it took me around 10 to 15 minutes to create the cluster. And we can confirm the cluster that has been created with AWS EKS list clusters. And then I can specify the region where the cluster has been deployed. It's US West 2. And if I press enter, I can see my cluster listed here. So we have successfully created a cluster with the help of EKS CTL command. All right. So that's all I want to tell you in this video. Thank you.